Hey guys, and welcome to this tutorial. So we're going to be covering various tips to come up with great game ideas on the fly. Hopefully this will get you inspired and you'll come up with a lot of great ideas that you can then bring to life inside of Unity or as a board game or whatever tool that you use. So tip number one that I have for you guys is getting inspired from life, right? Trying to turn something mundane or a life experience or an adventure into a game, be that digital or a physical game. You can maybe transform a hobby that you enjoy into a game. For example, say you really like playing tennis or practicing a certain martial art. Can you turn that experience into a game? This is also really exciting and fun because it gives you a great excuse, right, to delve even deeper into that hobby so that you're more informed and inspired to then create a game out of it. The more you learn, for example, about cooking, perhaps the more inspired you'll be about the actual game about cooking that you create. You'll know more recipes, you'll know the techniques that the cooks use, how to maybe manage a restaurant, and so on, and all of that can then be used inside of your game. Of course, this can be something very mundane as well, like doing the dishes. Can I turn this very basic, maybe slightly boring chore into a fun game? It could be a great challenge, and a lot of designers, I think, will have fun wrapping their heads around this puzzle, around this problem of, turning something mundane that we do everyday life into something that's engaging, challenging, and rewarding. Tip number two is taking an existing game that you maybe have in your Steam library or one of the board games that you enjoy and removing a key mechanic from that experience. So for example, let's take a genre like the platformer. What would happen if suddenly you removed the ability for the character to jump, right, which is a key super important mechanic of the platformer genre, or you jump between two platforms and so on. So what happens when you remove that mechanic? What unique features must the environment now have for you to get across, for example, a series of spikes, or to get across a gap? Does the environment have cool springboards? Or maybe your character has other unique move abilities that replace the jump mechanic. Maybe he can dash, which temporarily makes him invincible, or perhaps he's got little wings that allow him to fly. So maybe removing the jump opens up doors that will lead to more innovative, interesting ideas. You can do this with any genre, but again, you can even be a lot more specific, like a specific game title that you really enjoy. For example, let's take the super famous strategy game and masterpiece chess. What would happen if we removed the turn-by-turn mechanic, right? If everybody could just play their moves simultaneously, and it became not only a game of strategy, but also fast reflexes and kind of a little bit more chaotic, right? It would completely change the entire experience, the entire game, and in so doing, you come up with a completely new game. Or let's say we remove the eating mechanic in chess. So you can no longer eat pieces, they no longer disappear or eliminated from the board, but instead it's all about trying to checkmate the king while all the boards are still in place. I do not know if that would work, but that's just an example where you can start like getting down a rabbit hole of thinking that way and seeing, if I remove something that's really obvious, very clearly an important part of the game experience, how does that change the game? Does it work? Does it not work? And is it worth experimenting with? Since we're on the topic of being inspired by other games to come up with new original ideas, another tip is to turn, for example, a 2D game into a 3D one. Again, I recommend you just go into your Steam library, for example, browse your collection and just look for a 2D experience. For example, I've got a game called Downwell. What would happen if suddenly it was 3D? It would change a lot, right? It would be a completely different game. And then again, if you turned a 3D game into a 2D one, again, that also makes a big difference. Tip number four is mashing up two games into one. What happens when you mix Hollow Knight with Enter the Gungeon, or you mix chess with Dark Souls? Do you have something completely unique? Chances are, yes. This launches you into a cool, creative sort of like thinking process. So it's a good starting launch pad to come up with new game ideas. Just take two random titles from your game collection and fuse them into one. What does that turn into? What's the baby they create in a way? Tip number five is embracing little deadlines when doing your brainstorming sessions, right? Often when you're trying to come up with the game ideas, you're often going to get stuck perhaps in long loops of thoughts, right, that get nowhere. You're stuck in front of the whiteboard with your teammates or alone, and you're not really getting anywhere because you're kind of semi-procrastinating, trying to come up with the perfect game idea. So instead, what could be great is challenging you and your teammates to come up with a cool game idea in 5 minutes. You just write it down, you try and find something that's good. Even better if you add to that a theme, right? So often like creating limitations and what you can come up with will generate more ideas, it'll loosen up that pressure a bit more, It will narrow and focus your creativity. So for example, you've got 5 minutes to come up with a game that has the theme of dark forest, or cone of light, or limited space, whatever. You just choose a random theme, give it to every one of your teammates. You got 5 minutes, and then after the 5 minutes are complete, you just discuss with each other the different ideas you've come up with. So embrace that limitation, be it on what you can come up with a theme, and also how long, how much time you have to come up with these ideas. In the spirit of this time limit, you should really embrace prototyping. That's the next tip. Again, make it a recurrent kind of habit as a game creator to rapidly prototype, no more than one hour, maybe a couple hours, even to 1 day, to come up with new game ideas. So say you've got this vague little concept that sounds kind of cool on paper, you're curious to see whether it'll work out in real, but your concern is not good, right? And you don't want to dedicate huge amounts of time working towards this idea that might turn out to be crap. Well, the good news is it doesn't need to take that much time. You could, for most games, get a core loop or get some mechanics up and running pretty fast, especially if you know how to, program or know how to use a game engine like Unity. So you want to quickly get your hands dirty, make that, see if it has potential, and then, if it doesn't, that's fine. You just spend a couple hours working on it anyway, so you can move on to the next idea. You don't want to spend days, weeks, months working on an idea you're not certain is actually great. So you really want to become excellent at quickly prototyping. And often it's through this process of prototyping a vague idea or some little experiment that you've jotted down on paper that you come up with new game ideas, that you come up with even more original concepts. It's by creating and experimenting. Often it's not when just like in front of a blank sheet of paper that the best ideas will come, but it's by proactively making something. So action beats over planning and just ruminating on the perfect idea, which often doesn't exist. Next tip, cut out distractions. This is an obvious one, but to come up with really creative, good game ideas, you're going to most likely have to be in a certain state of concentration. So cut out the phones, perhaps, leave the usual workspace that you're in to get inspired, have a walk in the woods, anything that can get you in a nice, concentrated, relaxed state of mind that will, help you come up with those game ideas. Perhaps even meditate before, but yeah, number one tip here is just like remove the phone. Don't keep it close at hand. Even like if you're just staring at it for 1 minute, I feel like it kind of removes you from that creative space. And finally, make use of physical, materials. Maybe when you're trying to come up with new game ideas, even if it's for a video game idea, you can start off by just creating maybe a physical version of that game. Especially if that game is a strategy game or a card game, for example, you can just, cut out some pieces, use figurines or whatever, get that game in your hands, build it with paper. Again, try and do this quite fast so you can test and see if the idea is worth pursuing. Never dedicate more than a couple days on a prototype before being able to figure out, is this cool or not. Another tool you can use to come up with game ideas is, for example, seeing, can I turn this video game into a board game? How does that work? What would that game feel like? What would the mechanics be? Especially like, for example, an FPS like Doom. What would an FPS play like as a board game? And vice versa, right? Can I turn this board game that I love into a cool, unique video game that can also generate some ideas? Embrace also ultra hard, design challenges, restrictions. So in the spirit of deadlines, of restricted themes, also use, restricted materials. Can I come up with a really cool game idea using only 2 6-sided dice, right? What can I make with that? Can I do something really cool using only a sheet of paper? All these design challenges will get you thinking outside the box. That's the end of this video. I'm now going to challenge you to come up with 5 unique game ideas in under 1 hour. No more than 1 hour to come up with game ideas using the different tips that I've just shared with you now. Grab a sheet of paper, grab your prototyping tools, and just start creating. Have fun, and we'll see you next week. Cheers. We don't need anything perfect. We just need to start creating. So we're going to use that tip, I think number 5, where we just give ourselves a really short deadline, 15 minutes to make a game prototype around a random theme. Or why not random? How about we ask Jonas or Blow Up the Noobs for a theme?
One-worded random theme.
You go 1 word, and we'll make a little 15-minute prototype, or we'll try and make a 15-minute
Barrel of
prototype.
monkeys.
I heard monkeys. Was there another word before that?
Barrel of monkeys.
Barrel of monkeys. Okay, here we go. I love that.
No, we said 1 word. So do you want barrel or monkeys or something?
It could be barrel of monkeys. It could be fine. It's fine. Yeah.
All right, let's go.
That's fine. All right, barrel of monkeys it is. And guys, Jonas, blow up the noobs. Just by the way, blow up the noobs. Do you want us to call you blow up the noobs, or do you have a name you'd rather us we call
Yeah,
you?
I'm fine with that.
Cool.
Cool.
So we suggest if you can, just open up Unity and try and make a prototype with us. You'll have 15 minutes. Barrel of Monkeys is the theme, and then we'll all share what we've made and just compare it and see if anybody's come up with some cool ideas.
Okay, time's up, guys. Are you done? You got to be done anyway.
Yeah, now it's time up. So we can start.
Sharing our different projects. Just let us know in the chat, guys, if you're back.
They're in the flow states.
No cheating, guys. No cheating.
Cool.
I did not get a working game yet.
That's quite fine, man. That's only normal. But what's good is that you started something and
Yeah.
potentially you can continue afterwards. But we're still very
Yeah,
curious.
I had to restart my computer in the middle of it.
No way. Oh man, unlucky.
Do you still have anything to show at all, even if it's just like a cube moving around?
I have a cannon that spins.
All right, we want to see that. Show us the can.
Share your screen, man.
Okay.
And while you're playing
Here
the
we go.
game, also you'll talk to us about like what was your idea, the idea you had,
Yeah.
and how would you expand?
So are people in the recording going to see this?
Yeah.
Let's see. The idea behind this was that you'd shoot monkeys into barrels.
Okay.
The cannon would rotate between like over here and pointing over here and over here,
Yeah.
and then you'd have to try to time when you shoot them to make them land in the barrels.
Okay, cool. So
Nice.
Okay, a precision timing based game.
Nice.
That's cool. Do you have any other ideas on how you would make this into like a bigger game? Would there be like different monkey types, different barrels?
You'd probably get more points for getting the barrels farther away or something. Or maybe
Good
the
point.
barrels could move positions, so that way you couldn't just get a consistency of like when you shoot them.
Okay, yeah. That
Could be a viral mobile game. Who knows?
yeah.
Okay, Jonas, do you have anything to share? Even though you're not done. It's part of the rules, right? It's like the 15 minutes are up. You have to move on. You have to like say, okay, this is maybe interesting. Maybe I will continue later on, but for now it's done. I need to move on to another prototype.
So Jonas, if you could please share your screen if you're down for that, and just share what you've done.
If not, no worries. We'll just share what we've made.
Cool.
So my idea was for a little game that monkeys would spawn in the air and drop
Wow.
down, and you would be moving the barrel and catch the monkeys. It's
Okay.
not working, but
First of all, I absolutely love how you quickly put together this really cool looking scene. Yes, I imagine it's asset packs.
It's the ones we provide in the GitHub Rocket course, actually. It's the
Is it the low poly environment pack? I'm not sure.
probably.
Yeah,
Just,
anyway, it looks
use
great.
one I
It's really
found.
cool to have that artwork in play already.
So yeah, it was working, but it stopped for some reason.
As a class, I tell you, man, 15 minutes is one of the most intense forms of prototyping here.
all right, cool. So can you just repeat what was your game idea? I'm not sure I
Yeah, I missed that. I missed that.
So there would be monkeys spawning in the air or dropping from trees, and you would have to catch them with the barrel by
Ah.
moving it left to right.
Okay.
Huh.
Almost like a reverse version of like Raining Apocalypse, where you're trying to dodge meteors left and right, but this time you're trying to pick them up, you're trying to catch them.
Cool, yeah.
Very cool. Okay,
So
yeah.
Blood and Noobs was more about throwing them and
Yeah.
precision. There's the opposite where you're catching them
Yeah,
with your barrel.
great stuff, guys. I hope after this session you might spend another half an hour actually bringing these games to life, because both of these games I think could be finished in less than an hour. Like the core gameplay could definitely be coded and finished in that time frame. Really cool. All right, Liam and I, here's what we've come up with. So I'm going to press play here. It's actually quite fun. So basically, this is our barrel. And the red squares are the monkeys. You can imagine them swinging from tree to tree with nice art and nice animations. And the blank barrels are maybe gorillas or some form of a more dangerous sort of animal that you do not want to pick up. So if my cursor hovers over the blank squares, I lose, I restart the game. But I need to try and left click and pick up the monkeys, put them in the barrel without touching the black squares. So it's kind of tricky and actually quite fun. And of course, you can make the game a lot harder with more patrol points, more randomness in the movements, maybe less gaps between the black monkeys and the red monkeys. But one mistake and I'll have to restart the game. Oh, there we go. I lost. So that's our little prototype there. And frankly,
Cool.
I think it's quite cool. I think it's very, very simple. I don't see this turning into any major Steam game, but maybe as a little mobile game, this could also be interesting.
So then once we finish our 15-minute prototypes, we like going on like little meetings together. If Noah made a 15-minute prototype, Niall's making a 15-minute prototype, then we stop and we just discuss a little bit about each prototype and how we could potentially expand on it.
Yeah, this is exactly what we did right now, basically with you guys.
So if you guys could just tell us, what would you add to this little prototype?
Yeah, what would you do if you had this game and you could work on it for another day? Do you think there's anything else
Yours?
you could do?
Your game?
Yeah.
Like you said, probably more patrol points.
Yeah.
Maybe the monkeys would try to escape.
Oh, nice. I like that. So you're not only you have tried to like catch new monkeys, but you also have to handle the monkeys that are in the barrel.
I know. So there'll be two different types of monkeys. The monkeys are always trying to leave your screen. You've got to bring them back into the center.
Right.
And the monkeys, once they're ready to go into the barrel, once they're hungry, they change color and you've got to put them into the barrel. So you got to keep them in. Once they change color, bring them into the barrel.
So what's the goal then? How do you win?
Probably points.
Once you reach maybe like, I don't know, 20 monkeys in the barrel.
Okay.
Or something like that.
And so the monkeys, there's also a hunger meter. So monkeys get hungry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So once they're hungry, you put them in the barrel.
And if they're not hungry, you leave them alone.
You leave them alone, but keep them inside of your zone.
Oh, okay, I see. Interesting. Okay, quite
and
nice.
if like more than like 3 monkeys leave your screen, then you lose the game.
Okay. Interesting. Huh. So guys, I'm pretty happy. Like, right, it's 15 minutes, as you see, we've got an idea. The ball's rolling. We're not anymore in that state of like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not making anything. We're already like in 15 minutes, creative and productive and doing something, which is really, really, really cool. I love this. But again, 15 minutes is maybe extreme. And to do the same in 1 hour, not only will you have a more decent prototype, but you'll also have maybe a little less pressure, because 15 minutes.
But it's a skill that you do get better at.
Yes, yes.
15-minute prototype.
Give yourself that challenge guide. Tell yourself, I'm doing, no matter what, I'm doing 4 15-minute prototypes. You give yourself 4 random themes each time. You make a prototype, and there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. And if what happened this time, right? You didn't have time to finish your prototype. You said, no matter, I'm moving on to the next theme and the next theme, and I can always come back later on and finish up Y starters. Okay, great. So I think that's going to wrap up this session here.
Yeah. So
And-
let's just like do a quick recap of everything we said.
Yeah.
All different, techniques.
The different tips to come up with game ideas.
So
Yeah.
number 1 was to get inspired by life. So from your day-to-day life, take what your chores, your activities, get inspired from them, and try to gamify those experiences. Number 2 is take existing games and removing key mechanics or adding mechanics to them. So just being more critical in the way you play games. Have a notepad ready. Write down what you like about the game, what you dislike about the game. You can change the dimension of the games, turning a 2D game into a 3D game, or vice versa. Mashing up 2 titles, so taking 2 games that you enjoy, mashing them up. What does that create? Embracing short deadlines. That's what we did right now. 15-minute prototypes, 1 hour prototypes, max. And give yourself a theme because more often than not, it's the idea that we have like unlimited ideas, unlimited possibilities that actually block us. So having a little bit more of a constraint can actually help come up with game ideas. Removing distractions, so no phones, everything we talked about. Having make yourself accountable by creating maybe a YouTube channel or going on live streams or finding some way of removing distractions, or
Finally,
using physical materials, so going away from the screen, going back to paper, pen, dice, and all that. So just take one of these methods, guys, and for the rest of the day, maybe just try and do that.
Yeah, so try and come up with an idea, and then we recommend you also put it into practice by prototyping it in under an hour. Just get that ball rolling, guys. Maybe today is the day you're going to plant that seed that will lead to that very first commercial game you end up selling and making millions from. I mean, no joke, it could happen.
And if you do this every day of coming up with game ideas and prototyping them, testing them, there is no doubt that within like a month, 2 months, you're going to have like a really cool game idea probably
that you will be able to expand on. This is what Liam and I are currently. We're in this phase.
Yeah.
We're looking for our next game. We want to make another game that we're going to sell on Steam. We want to make our most successful game yet. And we're currently in this beautiful idea of prototyping phase. And we're going to be making a big devlog about all of that very soon. So yeah, thank you, Jonas. Thank you, Blob the Noobs.
Just one last question. What is your favorite method here that we've listed out? What is your favorite methods out of all of them? What was the one you're going to be using?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Probably just looking at games and seeing what I want to change with it.
Cool. Good one, yeah.
Yeah, definitely a very fun method. Who doesn't want to play some amazing games and also learn from them? How about you, Jonas?
Same.
Nice. Okay. Did you guys enjoy this live lesson?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining. We'll make sure that this recording is uploaded so you can view it again if you want. Thank you for taking part. You're going to be part of the Gamer Rocket Academy's history. People will see a barrel of monkeys for the remainder of time. So yeah, really cool stuff. Okay, guys, have a great rest of your day.
Cheers, guys.
Goodbye.